So one of the first things that most men, in my personal experience, struggle to do is to live a richly embodied life, meaning that the wisdom and the feelings in the body and also the full human palette of emotions are available, we're aware of them, and they become embodied. We show ourselves as human, alive animals with our loves, with our cravings, with our thrust and our energy. That is actually quite rare in men in Western cultures. And the second thing, which I want to talk about more today in this video, that most men struggle to do, including me, because I'm really a recovering head guy that's been on this journey to come more into my embodiment over the years. The second thing that most men struggle to upkeep is a daily embodiment practice. So I'll share a theory about why this is. And well, first of all, we don't really get any embodiment training in Western countries growing up. We get a lot of training around the physical body, exercise, team sports, even mountaineer training and so on. So there are a lot of men who have a high level of fitness and that engage in fitness every single day. But just because you're going to the gym, working with cardio or working with strength training, doesn't mean that you're deepening in contact with the intelligence of your body. And you will see if you go to the gym, there are a lot of men who have incredible bodies and that train them with discipline, but perhaps don't have a sensitivity to their emotions, to their intuition, to the moment-to-moment fluctuations of feeling and energy, which is what reveals to us the wisdom of our bodies, moment after moment. And this is important, of course, because when it comes to relating with women, particularly when it comes to infusing our leadership with more empathy and having a creativity which is more wild, more whole, that comes out of the fullness of who we are rather than just following a number of templates and scripts, we become much more expressive and expansive as leaders and much more compelling people to be with. So I take a massive stand for embodiment. It's a beautiful, important thing. And any man that wants to go deep in coaching or mentoring with me, I highly recommend that you do a solid chunk of embodiment training just to bring the fullness of who you are to the table. I mean, the mind is such a small fraction of who we are. So the daily embodiment practice, why I'm so passionate about this is for two different reasons or two different kinds of people. And first up, I have a lot of conversations with men who, like me, spent a big period of their life really into personal development, feeling that after the next course, after the next coaching, after the next retreat, after the next stack of books on the bedside table, then they would be ready to fully live life. If only I got to work with a good enough coach or therapist, then I'm going to heal my stuff, be fundamentally okay, and live my life fully. And so that, of course, is a perpetual trap to believe that your energy, your inspiration, your passion, your aliveness, your deep-seated sense of worthiness is going to come from the next retreat, puts you in a very disempowering situation. And I believe in retreats and I believe in coaching. When you start to shape your life more and more about being on some kind of personal development path, you can actually become more disempowered because you're projecting that power and your improvement actually upon the retreat. So the antidote to this is to have a daily practice. And in my morning meditation, for example, I sit there on the pillow and for a number of minutes, anytime up to about 20 or 25, I sit and I enter back into the deepest state I possibly can. Not all mornings are good mornings, and that's okay. But it's like the retreat itself, the coach, the new self-help book, the place from which insight and regeneration and energy comes from is actually deep within me. And to arrive on this insight actually took me to, I needed to have a daily practice for a number of years. And actually, as the years went by, I started to realize, well, why would I need to run out to this retreat or do this coaching when I feel like I'm topping myself up on a regular basis with what I need. And this might sound like an obvious insight or something unimpressive. It's very quiet and unseen, actually a very humble act to keep a daily practice. But when you start to realize that the fundamental sense of worthiness that would drive somebody to do workshops and retreats can actually be found within them, it stops all the need for seeking outside. And it's the humble, slow path of doing something daily which can mend so much of these quiet inner wounds, quiet inner kind of scripts and judgments we have about maybe not being lovable enough, not being competent enough, not being confident enough. They slowly dissolve and dismantle actually through a daily practice. So that is a huge, vital thing, and it takes you off the dependency cycle if you're on it. The other thing is that if you want more passion and verve and clarity and more virtuous qualities in yourself, in your day-to-day life, well, there needs to be a time where you stop and come back to yourself. And particularly for men, and particularly in a modern corporate world, this is one of the most unattractive things that we can do. First of all, I think if you've got a strong masculine nature, what that actually does to us is have us want to remove ourselves and abstract ourselves from situations. And so you might find yourself, let's say, you take up a sudden interest in the field of embodiment. You might actually find more pleasure, more happiness, feel more at one with yourself when you're reading books about embodiment and building up some kind of map so you can understand the field. Fill yourself up with information and knowledge actually feels more pleasurable than getting onto the mat, hands and knees, doing the breath work. It's just the way we're constituted. And yet you're not going to have a more embodied life just because you soak in more information. The second piece is when we're really busy, the need actually to willingly slow our brains and our troubleshooting parts of ourselves down to meet the slow volcanic tempo of a moving body can be really frustrating. It's like all of a sudden you're free on the highway to think and explore, even though this might be totally fueled by beta waves, hyperstimulation, too much coffee. You get the illusion that you're going fast, and then all of a sudden you're stuck in traffic, or all of a sudden you're working with someone who's really, really slow. You know, when you're used to being really quick. That's what it's like to come back into the body. In fact, the best practices are ones where we meet the slowness and we can stay still with maybe one sensation, one emotion for 10, 15, 20 minutes as that starts to unfold. That's the essence of healing, is having incredible slowness and presence and commitment to being with one tiny little thing. The feeling in the middle of a wound, for example, a painful memory that causes you to close up as an adult, just to stay with that memory with an incredible fixed attention. And then so to come in from your 200 kilometers an hour on the autobahn and then to come into the body where the speed might be 1 step a minute is unfancied. And yet the payoff is so big that with a 10 or 15 minute practice every day, if you can manage to do a 30-minute practice every single day, the reset that this can do for your emotional state, the depth of emotions that you can start to feel and share with people in relationship, and therefore the connection that you have grows. I could list the benefits, but wouldn't want to be too much of a moralizer on the topic of the daily practice. So if I can share 3 tips that have been powerful in supporting me to keep a daily practice over the last 4 years or so, there would be the following. First, keep a folding practice. And that means, say you take a meditation workshop and you're armed with this beautiful meditation, it's 30 minutes long and has all these different steps, or maybe you need to do 60 minutes of yoga even before you get there, then that can be a limitation. right? If you've got in your mind, wow, yoga and meditation is going to take half an hour or an hour and a half today, when am I going to fit that in? And so just fit it in when you've actually got the time to do it. But with the folding practice, see if you can take the essence of that longer practice and fold it down, almost like you would in some kind of minimal luggage, into a 5-minute practice or a 10-minute practice, and just see what you've got the resources to do every single day. There has been countless times, especially when I'm traveling, I arrive in a hotel room, I pick up my phone, it's 11:54 at night, and I'm like, wow, I've got to squeeze in a little 5-minute practice, and then I can keep my daily continuity thread going. So I get a huge boost when I know that I'm doing it every single day. It adds to something. Not only do I get the compound interest of the practice itself, but I also show myself about my own discipline and commitment, which reinforces something very important inside me as well. So the first tip is to have a folding practice. Don't shame yourself if you can't do your many layers of embodied practice. Fold it up so you get the essence. And even when you're in a week where you're sick and you don't have the resources, 5 minutes a day, and you just see your cumulative progress still adding up, even though your practice is not deepening that much, right? And the second thing I've just mentioned, cumulative practice, golden thread, keep it going. It's very, very nice to look at your phone and realize that you've done an embodiment practice for 100 consecutive days or 365 consecutive days. The achievement in that is beautiful, and that's what you're aiming to do. Again, compound interest. With every 5 minutes of embodiment practice, you change radically your state of feeling in the moment, but you also gain a deeper contact with yourself that is going to be there for the rest of your life. I very much believe that. And the third thing I want to say is, as much as is possible for you, create an environment that feels really, really good. So I might want to, late at night, close the windows, lock the door to my office, get down on the yoga mat, maybe even turn on a candle. Whatever it takes to change the ambiance of the room around actually triggers within us. Well, if you turn the ambience down into something soothing, it actually soothes a lot of stuff inside. So by putting on candles, there's something more natural about that light, which is a trigger to the nervous system to have it start to calm down. I turn off the beaming electric lights above me. I put on a little bit of music, even incense. You know, if you want to start going down this route of mystical items and shamanic things and so on, each of these items has a very specific ritualistic effect in already calming down the nervous system. And so preparing your environment, even if you just spend a couple of minutes doing it for an embodiment practice, already starts the embodiment practice itself. So when you hit that mat, it's not like you're charging through your life and then you drop down to something really slow in your body. It's like, no, you start to prepare the environment and you move towards a total relaxation. You might finish with a beautiful cup of tea. Often I make a cup of tea, it brews, I finish the meditation, I drink it, and then I'm ready for a really good night's sleep. Obviously, I sleep a lot better when I'm not looking at my phone until late at night, put it down at about 9:30, and then do a series of different kind of rituals to drop me into that relaxed state. So what embodiment practice should you do? If you're a beginner into this field, then I recommend having a broad education in terms of what different embodiment practices there are, why you would use it. Every single one is like a medicine that helps you with a specific end, and I give a comprehensive introduction to embodiment in my LOTM program. The link is below, and there's something like 15 or 16 different embodiment practices that you can do every day. There's a number of different meditations and inner practices that you can do every day to change your perspective and your state of mind. And there's of course the archetype work, which is a bit more of an esoteric addition to the program. So if you fancy that, check it out, and I'll see you in the next video.